Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Polity, reaching you live from the Abuja studios of Kaftan Television. Right now we'll be going on a discussion about the 2023 elections as we've been doing for the last couple of days. It's about 10 days to the election now. We'll be focusing on what is sure to happen that day and also the events leading up to the election. On the Polity here, we'd like to discuss politics and governance and the intersection of these two, and also the state of the nation. Now, a lot is happening. We have a lot in store, and what we're going to be doing today is analyzing how recent events might shape up or shape the elections that are coming in about 10 days on February 25th, 2023. As always, we'll start the program with the advocacy that you do pay attention to everything that is going on so that you can make the right decision when the time comes. It's a special moment because for the first time in 8 years, we will be having a brand new government, a new president, after 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. So it's important you go out there or you listen to your television, Kaftan TV specifically, where you get to find out what the candidates have in store for you across board. Welcome once again to the program. I am Amadine Obare. Now I'll go straight into the discussion. I have with me in the house Mr. Robinson Okeke. He's an anthropologist and a public affairs analyst. And also in the house we have Mrs. Faith Nwadishi, the Executive Director, CTA. Welcome to the program. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're talking about a host of issues leading up to 2023. But I'd like to start with you, Faith. You're an election observer, if I get that correctly, or you
That's
are.
right.
All right. So let's get your analysis leading up to the election. What are the things that you feel could be having an impact right now on that day?
Okay, so thank you so much. I'm able to say this right now because we just concluded a tour of the 6 geopolitical zones where we engage stakeholders across the electoral value chain on their concerns for the 2023 election. So I'll be sharing with you some of the things we got back from the consultation we had. Number one on the table was the issue of security. Citizens are not sure if they are going to be protected on election day, so they're very skeptical. And even while we're talking about citizens having concerns around security, even security agents themselves are having issues because they feel that the communication between them is not as solid as it should be. Even though on the INEC aspect there is a committee called the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, chaired by the INEC chairman and co-chaired by the Inspector General of Police, the other sister security agents feel that there's more that has to be done in intelligence sharing and gathering amongst them. So that's one aspect of it. And then the scarcity of the naira is another problem, a huge problem. We have never seen that as a problem in our election. So it's a new thing that has come onto us in this election. And then the deployment of the beavers is a new technology that has also come into the election. While we're seeing new innovations, improvements within going into the election, we're seeing other challenges that has always been there. And then people are also concerned about the issue of vote buying. Now, you know, when the whole policy about the Naira swap come, people felt it was going to checkmate vote buying on election day. Now, the question now is it really going to checkmate vote buying when people don't have access to money, to the new Naira, and then somebody else would have access to it? If the person comes to the polling unit, in the past we had seen people sell their votes for as much as 5,000. Now the 1,000 naira is even more precious than the $100 that you can that you have to the eyes of Nigerians. So what are we going to do about that? But generally speaking, I would say that our elections have improved. I was in Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun to observe all of those elections, and every election after another one was an improvement over the last one. On the 4th of February, there was this mock accreditation that went on across the country. We were also out there with observers, even myself around Abuja here, going to look at that. We have seen also that there's been a marked improvement in the performance of the beavers. So generally, you will say that the umpire in the Independent National Electoral Commission is ready. But what about the other stakeholders that need to carry out their duties? For instance, those that are in charge of logistics, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, National Association of Road Transport Owners, the Maritime Workers Union, you talk about the security agents, you talk about the ad hoc staff itself. Yesterday at a meeting we had, the FCT Resident Electoral Commissioner spoke intensively about the impact that this cashless policy will have on them. For instance, he painted a picture of deployment of ad hoc staff who will be sent to communities where that you need to give them some cash to be able to spend for the 1 day or 2 days that they may spend in that community. Even the security agents, you need to give them some cash for some emergencies, not too much cash, 1,000, 2,000 naira that they will hold on them. Now, if that money is not made available to them, all of this could mar. And then finally, a few days ago, the Independent National Electoral Commission, the chairman, came out to say 240 polling units out of the total that we have in the country will not have elections there. This is not new. In the past, they had always come out with the data to say because you have 0 voters in those polling units, there's not going to be election. But this time again, it is kind of different. Some of those polling units you have 0 voters, but in others, because of insecurity. And imagine a state like Imo State where you have 38 polling units where election will not happen. In Taraba State, you have 36 polling units where election will not happen. And even in the North Central, a few polling units in Abuja, you will not have election happening. In Nasarawa State, about 11 polling units, you will not have election happening. And these are new things, new occurrences that we see within our election, going into the election a few days' time, that Nigerians should be aware of. And we need urgently to get those in charge, especially the Inspector General of Police and the security agencies, to come out to assure and reassure Nigerians that they are on top of the game. It's not enough for yesterday the Inspector General of Police came out to say, oh, there's a splinter group from the Southwest who is trying to do that, the Southeast group. We need more than that. Tell us, what is it that you're doing to ensure that these groups that you already have intelligence that may interrupt our elections, that you are on top of your game and you are assuring Nigerians that the right thing will be done and elections we hold.
All right, thank you so much for that breakdown. I'd like to get you in now, Mr. Robinson. Based on what she said, which of these things do you also see having, a big effect, particularly the Naira swap? How do you see that turning out?
Well, the issue at the moment is very dicey, because in as much as the new Naira policy is a good idea, however, going into election, we can now see the likely problems, that are going to emerge from this issue of Naira swap. Looking at INEC saying they need cash to execute the elections. And from her analysis, you see, it is very clear that for electoral officers who will be going to the rural areas, they definitely will be needing some cash to move. And the way it is now, even if CBN decides, okay, let's work with INEC to make cash available, I wonder if that will be possible. And if you look at the current protests going on in different states at the moment, some CBN branches, we hear they are under attack and all of that. So you may not actually have CBN branches open to be able to give INEC at state and local levels, the needed cash to go ahead with the elections. And another issue of security. You see, the rate of insecurity in the country. Though I want to believe that some merchants of evil, are solely behind all of this, because you cannot tell me that we can't have a peaceful country and organize our elections. But there are individuals who always benefit from chaos. Okay, so but the thing is that there is need for government to identify this and put a stop to it, because if there is no security, people will not have the mind to come out en masse to cast their votes. So based on security issues, people will already be disenfranchised, okay, from participating in their civic duty of electing the leaders for themselves. So, and then look at the issue of the foreigners with voters cards, that the National Immigration Service, arrested and collected the cards from them. Over 6,000 non-Nigerians having our voters cards. So what that means is that it's possible to have almost 1 million foreigners having our voters cards. So you see, these are all challenges, going into the election. And then you talk about the politicians themselves. Every day we keep hearing these people saying one thing or the other that is capable of causing problem for us in the country. So you see that our politicians have not been tamed. They have not been schooled in the use of proper language. And so they go about igniting problems here and there and causing their followers who follow sheepishly to go about threatening to do mayhem. So all of these are capable of putting our election in jeopardy. And the best we can do is to have these things stopped so that we can have a peaceful, fair, free and credible election.
All right, that's fair enough. We'll delve further into that. But for now, I'm interested. As an election observer, these challenges you've outlined for others, including INEC security, what about your job as observers? Would it be affected? How would you be able to do your normal, observations and monitoring with all these constraints?
Definitely it will affect it, because you have observers who are supposed to pay their transport to a particular polling unit where they will observe. Usually, we have also not even mentioned the energy crisis that we are having, lack of access to petroleum. One of the zones that we went to, the security agents raised that as a major concern, that it may hamper their monitoring if they don't have fuel to fuel their vehicles, if there's an emergency call. So definitely it will also affect observers. Now, the issue of insecurity is even worse, and the harassment from the political class. Over the years, from 1999 till date, there has been one major reform or the other. But you see, the political class, they have not moved away from the mentality of the earlier days of election. They always want to go back there. From the 4th of February, when the mock accreditation happened, one of our observers in Delta State was harassed. She was injured. She was almost kidnapped from a mock exercise. So what will happen on the day of the election? It was so bad that even the security agents that were there couldn't even intervene. By the time the community leaders were able to save her, the security agents went to meet her to say, my sister, sorry for what has happened to you, but we are also here as observers. You can't even do anything. So you can imagine that you have security agents who, one, will be on the field, who are supposed to protect lives and properties. Number one, they don't even know the rights and responsibilities of observers. They don't know the role that observers are playing. We have had cases of where security agents even had to arrest observers. So aside the fact that we may not have petrol to move around that day, we may not even have cash for those who want to go use the public transport. The security is also there. And just recently, I'm sure yesterday, a lot of us experienced this network shutdown. Imagine if that happens and we're not able to make. I was supposed to be on a meeting yesterday, and I was almost getting so angry and frustrated. So just imagine if that could happen within the hours of the election and people are not able to send out reports, because observers are supposed to send out reports from their polling units. We from the situation room are supposed to now escalate that and ensure that something is done about it. We can't intervene in any process. We're just going there to observe. So definitely it affects us. And then also looking at the party agents too. I'm sure the way it's going to affect observers would also affect party agents. And that's where what we have not been able to interrogate properly. Any party agent that has access to money comes into the polling unit, and people are looking at people. Maybe people manage to get to the polling unit and they are not able to get back, and somebody is brandishing new 1,000 naira note. I'm sure people will queue up to get it. But I hope that Nigerians will understand that this is a responsibility we have taken on to ourselves. the Nigerian is being a citizen of Nigeria, not an elected, or selected officer or even appointed officer, makes you the most important citizen, most important person in this country, because you have the power to hire and fire. So if you don't utilize, understand, or interpret the role of hiring and firing, that's when you go and line up for 1,000 naira, because the person you have collected 1,000 naira from today will go there and do whatever. And also the thugs that they use to perpetrate violence on election day, some of them get named. You go to communities, you are seeing people those days when they used to snatch ballot boxes, some of them get named, some of them are crippled because of those things that have happened. But those politicians that they went to snatch ballot boxes for eventually cross-carpeted to another. I used to have a representative in the National Assembly representing me. He got elected onto a position, and for 2 years he never made any comment. The day he cross-carpeted from one party to the other was only day I heard him say something on the floor of the National Assembly when he said he has come back to the land where there's milk and honey. And then people had died fighting for that politician to come into office. People have collected money fighting for that politician based on wrong promises, failed promises to come into office. So as observers who have also contributed to the reforms that we see within the electoral process, whatever it is that affects the average Nigerian affects us and may hamper our duties to be able to do that. But for our organization, what we have done, aside from the fact that we know observers may find it difficult to get, we have tried as much as possible to reduce the burden on observers. Our checklist, for instance, is we don't use a manual checklist anymore. We have gone to develop the Google Forms, so it's now more like electronic. And we have insisted that the observers we are recruiting for this will just go a stone throw from where they live to the nearest polling unit where they live, so they don't have to pay transport. They don't have to move outside their comfortable environment. So if anything happens, first and foremost, you need to be alive to do observation and to serve country. So by going out to observe, you're serving country, but you need to be alive. So we have asked them, what I tell them is, on that day of election, you come out, look left, look right, look forward and back, anywhere your eye can sight a polling unit, just go there and observe. So that's one way we have also tried to bring that. But definitely, these issues will affect a lot of observer groups across the country.
It's good to see you already planning ahead. But I'd like to touch on something you said. You also mentioned, which is politicians. I think they're a large part of this that we cannot ignore. There are some reputable journalists that are already, working on reports that the vote buying has already begun. That they found alternative means, and they are sending to wallets. I saw here 10,000 naira to people per person. And they're trying to work around this policy and so on and so forth. But that aside, back to the issue of inciting comments or thereabouts, we have let me take an instance now. The APC, one of the APC spokespersons or persons in the PCC, I'm talking about former Minister Femi Fani-Kayode, made some comments, and then it was called by the DSS, and then he apologized and took it back. But the issue now is, how do we, start to do the advocacy or the sensitization that there is a place where politics stops, and then you are starting to, incite or affect the populace. Take, for instance, I asked the presidential candidate the other day, how would you bring people back together? Because it seems as though things are getting quite polarizing. And he says that the first thing to do as a presidential candidate is to not divide people and say you will bring them back together after you've scattered them. So that being said, how would you rate this election cycle in terms of how civil the politicians have been? Okay,
I think, at the beginning of this whole politicking, the National Peace Commission or Committee, they call these candidates to give a nod, to their readiness to abide by the rules of the game, to make sure that the election is peaceful, and that they speak to issues and not, about persons. However, we have seen, that it's just that our politicians, there is something fundamentally wrong with our politicians. They have not been able to, grow above sentiments. there is this understanding they have that we are a bunch of spectators in a comic show. Okay? And so all you do is to mount the stage, entertain the people, wow them, so that they can clap for you, and then they give you their votes. That's exactly the image of the Nigerians that they have. They don't think that we are, a group of intellectuals capable of some cognitive exercises in trying to understand the games that they play. So that is why somebody who was in A party yesterday saying all manner of things about B party will, in a twinkle of an eye, move into B party and begin to say almost the same thing about A party. And then they think we are a bunch of idiots, we don't understand. So this is the game they play. They have not been refined. They have not grown beyond that level of operation. However, Nigerians are beginning to understand the way things should be done properly. Other African countries are moving ahead and we want to join the train. And so, if they like, let them keep on saying things. You say one thing today, tomorrow they call you, you say it's regrettable. What you said is regrettable. Then why did you say it in the first instance? That shows the level of integrity. Okay? That shows the level of integrity. So, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as some Nigerians are concerned, we want to move ahead. And we are keeping note of everything every individual is saying. We are keeping note of everything because thank God for social media. Internet cannot lie and it doesn't forget. Every day you keep on seeing things that were said in the past that are now in the present. Okay? But if politicians will learn, speak to issues, they have few more days, just few more days left, about 10 days. Speak to issues and leave individuals alone. And all this, what I call suggestive journalism, where somebody will sit in the comfort of his sitting room and talk as if he has all the evidences in the world, as if he has done a lot of research. But it's armchair speculation. And then they just put it out there and they keep emphasizing it. Someone said, I know somebody who has 22 billion naira in his house. I know somebody who is planning to unleash hell on Nigerians during the election. I mean, what kind of talk is that? You are simply creating panic in the minds of people. You are creating what does not exist. So if they continue in this their line of action, what will happen is that a lot of Nigerians on election day might not even be able to come out to vote.
All right, but let's talk about the level of trust Nigerians have in politicians now. Nigerians, it seems, let me not say all Nigerians, but a number of Nigerians are skeptical about the concern, apparently, from the political class as regards this Naira swap policy. Take, for instance, at the Supreme Court today, I know Governor El-Rufai was present, and I think Governor Yaya. So, and people are wondering, why are you so interested? Why are you fighting for us this much? I think people find it a bit weird, and I don't know. I think that speaks to perhaps a bigger problem, that when people or your politicians seem to be fighting for you, you are worried. And so we have people who are suffering, who are going through hard times because of this policy, saying, you know what, I love the policy. I will suffer it, but I know, So how do you think we got to this place where, even though it seems as though they want to fight for Nigerians, people don't really see it that way? And also, what do you make of the accusation that some persons within the ruling party believe that there's sabotage and all of this is being done just to make them lose out on the election?
Okay, it's like a condition where the lion is saying, no, leave the goat for me. I love it. Let me protect it. That is what is playing out. All right? So suddenly, our governors, they are now much interested in the condition of Nigerians. They are now fighting for us. We appreciate the fight. But you see, fight the good fight. In your state, how well have you governed? What have you done to cushion the effects of the economic hardship that Nigerians are going through. All right? Even those who are paying 25% of salary, they are fighting for us. What have they done for their states? You see, Nigerians, like I said earlier, there is a way we are looking at the politicians. They think we don't understand, but we do. You see, all this naira scarcity, if we are to interrogate it properly, it might shock you that a few individuals are the primary reason why we don't have naira in circulation. I hope you are aware that there is a relationship between top politicians and bank CEOs. I hope you are aware that some bank CEOs are actually direct beneficiaries of top politicians in Nigeria. So the implication is this: for those who are not interested in allowing the policy to work, all they need to do is to use their acolytes in the banking sector, okay, to make it look as though this policy is coming at the wrong time, because it will not benefit them personally. So if we do a proper investigation, we may come to understand that there is no shortage of naira. It's just that people are hoarding the naira. Okay? The new note, people are hoarding it. And maybe on election day, you might be surprised to see people coming out with a lot of these notes. All right? The notes we are looking for, I was at a petrol station to get fuel. And a young boy of about 19 years came with one big car, I'm sure maybe a daddy's car or uncle's car, to get petrol. He finished buying, he removed a rack of 1,000 naira notes, counted before my presence, and paid. The money we are looking for, 5,000 notes. Someone had 100 pieces in his pocket, a very young man, a very young teenager. Okay? So, not that this money is not available. The money is somewhere in people's houses and offices. And then coming to the ruling party suspecting themselves. Well, that is politics. In a country where people play politics without value, okay, politics without principle. So what happens is, once there's an election, there is a new alignment and realignment. So people move and some people stay. And so what everybody is doing is what will benefit him. Okay? Personal interests. Who gets what, when and how. So everybody's into what am I getting out of this. And those who feel like the ruling party, even though they are part of ruling party, but the ruling party is not favoring them in terms of policy and underground works, what will they do? If they cannot leave the kitchen because it's too hot, they will adjust and fight the heat in the kitchen. So that is exactly what is happening in the ruling party.
All right, ma'am. Let's get your thoughts. Just to to always balance things. Might the governors actually have a point when they say people are suffering and it is not the right time, and perhaps there should be extension? Do they have a case there? If you look at it.
My question is, when last did governors come together to fight the cause of the common people in Nigeria? We have forever stayed on the queue because we are supposed to be an oil producing country and we don't have petrol. In government houses, they have fuel dumps. So they're able to get fuel. As soon as they wake up, their drivers get fuel and they are off to go. So they don't care how many hours you and I stay on the road to get fuel. But because the naira, they don't have in their own pockets. If it beats them so hard that they decided to do Ashwebi to go and see to see the president, it tells you that they are only interested in their own. And I tell you, as soon as they are able to get that money, if they had access to the central bank, and this is why I must commend them basically, even of all the things, that if they had access to that money, they won't go to that visit. This court case that we are seeing going on up and down, we won't see it because they are satisfied. They are really satisfied. To an extent, they may have a case, but the policy is a very wonderful policy. A situation, the problem we have, like he has said it rightly, is that the money, they get it and it's no longer in circulation. Because if you went to the bank and you deposited 10,000 naira, they give it back to you, go to the market and you spend it, the money will be in circulation. People will have the money and we won't have so much suffering. But because it is election, somebody goes to the bank in the early days and collects 500,000 naira new cash, 1 million naira new cash, and then suddenly you come up with that policy that says only 20,000 naira that you can get. It is the people that are not influential, you and I, that can even have access to that 20,000 naira. So if they had this money, I'm telling you, they won't even do this advocacy they are doing, because they have never done any advocacy for us Nigerians on behalf of us. Look at insecurity. How many times, there's no part of this country, there's no state in this country that have not had one case of insecurity in the last 8 years. How many times did governors go to meet the president to say, my people are dying, do something about this? Because now they can't have money to buy votes. They can't even have money. Look at how much they spend during the primaries. Look at how much they spend during the primaries. Where did that money come from? So that money that came from somewhere, if it's not taken back into the system, that money will eventually stay in somebody's home or in somebody's hands. And that money will no longer be a legal tender. And that is why they are afraid, though. It's not because they want you and I to come out of this suffering and be coming out. And that's how they deceive us. They come to tell us they're going to do this, they will do that. You see them, election is coming, they're going to meet the president on our behalf. As soon as that problem is solved for them, they will not even remember that that problem is there for us to do. So, the case that they have gone for, it's not for you and I, it's for their own. It's for their own, because that young man that got 100,000, if you read the Christmas and New Year period, people were spraying the new naira. How did they get it? Where did they get it from? And now, where is that money? If they had that amount of money to spray around, where is it? We're not even saying bring out the new naira. Bring out the old naira. At least they didn't change 100 naira. They didn't change 50 naira. Can you bring it out? Let people have access to it to begin to use it. There was a viral video that went, and we saw 1,000 naira that was printed in 2010. New 1,000 naira notes. Where did that money come out from? So the security agents should actually put their ass together and begin to investigate, where did that money come from? 2010, 13 years after, you're bringing that money to spend. 13 years after, even when money was printed in 2021, you're bringing that money for 2010. So please, let us not be deceived. The kind of politics that they play in Nigeria, and that's why the issue of the peace accord that they signed, we are advocating that next time when politicians sign peace accord, take it to the court and swear an affidavit, let it become a legal document that you can use to hold them accountable. They just go there, they do a jamboree, and you see the kind of campaigns we are doing is a jamboree. Yesterday I was just looking at one of the political parties having, and they were dancing, and the thought that came to me was, oh, this may even be the only time this person will dance in the next 4 years. And what are they saying? Nothing. Nothing. Unnecessarily hitting on the polity and making people, pitching people against themselves. For what? For 1,000 naira? Or for 500 naira? Or for even for a t-shirt? A t-shirt and a face cap that after the election, the old woman in the village will go and fold it and put under her box as if it is her price property. And that's the only access we will have to those people for the next 4 years that they will be in the office. So, my brother, they go to the president, they go to the International Human Rights Court, they go anywhere. They're not going on our behalf, they're going on their own behalf. Yes,
so the question now is this fear that some of the elites have, particularly, we have to be specific at times, the ruling party, the candidates, there's a fear that they have that these things haven't happened like this before. Specifically taking a look at the national youth leader, he says, what is going on? To quote his words, he says, how did we get here? Why are we fighting ourselves? He's speaking about the ruling party. And he says that in the past, 4 Qs were not so much, and there was not so much hardship around this period. And that, I guess the fear is that because it's so close to the election, it will sway people's minds. So that is the question now. Is it really the closeness to election? Is it going to affect people? I ask this because it's an 8-year tenure. The government this particular government has been in charge for 8 years. Is it that things closer to the election stick more to the memory? Or, the question is, it wouldn't really affect people if other things within the administration have not really moved you. What's so special about this time around? Or is it that stress that people are going through closer to the election will make them revolt against the current government. So that's what I would like to know. Will it really have an effect for people who already love the government?
See, the reason why even the ruling party is complaining is because when it's close to election, Nigerians don't forget. Things that happen like this happen for a purpose. Even if they had forgotten, because we're very forgiving. We're very easygoing. I'm sure in the whole world, if you carry out a research, you'll find that Nigerians are the most easygoing people. Once there's a difficulty, we find a way out of it and we move on. But we don't forget. There's a day of reckoning that will come. The members of the ruling party, they are saying this now because it is going into election. If they had good policies, they will campaign on those good policies. Who is in charge now? Now, somebody is asking, how did we get here? Nigeria is termed an oil-producing country. We have 4 refineries in this country that is supposed to produce 445,000 barrels per day. Now, when you refine 445,000 barrels, we are supposed to get over 70 million liters of petrol as one product. 1 barrel of fuel will give you about 159 liters. It will give you diesel, it will give you kerosene, it will give you aviation fuel, it will give you everything. More than 40 items will give you from 1 barrel of crude. Now we produce crude. Our refineries, 4 of them are not working. We have people who are working there. In the past 2 years, our refineries have not produced 1 liter, one liter of crude. We have not produced. We have depots in this country owned by the federal government. And in the last 2-3 years, the federal government owned depots have not worked. This government came in 2012. I was one of those who went on the street to say subsidy is the only way we are gaining. Some of those people in government today joined that protest. As soon as this government came, the first thing we had was increase in the pump price of fuel. This is the time we have had the highest pump price of fuel, and Nigerians have not even revolted because we said this is a new government. Let them give them a chance. Perhaps they are going to get it right. Perhaps they are going to get it right. Then the question of subsidy. We started now seeing subsidy. This same government came out and said, no, there's no more subsidy. We started hearing another language. They call it underpayment. Underpayment. What is underpayment? Suddenly, towards the end of the last 2 years, they come out and say, oh, we're actually paying subsidy. And do you know that last year, the money we paid on subsidy for 6 months was much more than the money that was budgeted for education ahead for 1 year. And it is the same government. And where is the subsidy? Where is the petrol? Kerosene that my grandmother and your grandmother and our grandparents use in the village, there's no subsidy. Because people buy 1 liter, this 1 beer bottle of this is equivalent to 1 liter. So people buy it for up to 1,000 naira. Diesel, there's no subsidy. The only one that is easy that they can do corruption and steal is this fuel that we are not having. And we are supposed to be an oil producing nation. We are supposed to be the largest gas producer in Africa. We cannot power our lights. We cannot power our homes. And people are saying, oh, because it is close to this. Is it not the same government? Somebody stood on the podium and said it is a no-brainer that Nigeria cannot generate electricity. And this same person was made the Minister of Power. And instead of even increasing the power that we have, it was decreasing. Somebody said in 6 months we can address the issue of power in this country. It is the same government. So people don't forget, but politicians think that people don't understand. We have technocrats in this country. If you want to take the statistics of intelligent people in the world, every part of the world where Nigerians are, they see Nigerians, the percentage of educated Nigerians, literate Nigerians that are contributing to the economy of other countries is usually higher than the percentage of other migrants into any particular country, even if it is Afghanistan. Go and check it. So when somebody now comes and says because it is close to election, what we are saying is if we give you a responsibility to be in office, do the right thing because the day of reckoning will come. And February 25th and March 11th is that day of reckoning. If only Nigerians will remember that this country has to strive beyond our sentiments, tribalistic sentiments, nepotistic sentiments, and other sentiments that have been dragging us back. The fact that it is your kinsman or kinswoman that is in office today doesn't make it right for you to support that evil. Because tomorrow the person will come out and you will still not have electricity, you may not even have water. to drink in your home. So we see it all out there. It's not because it is election, that is why it matters. It is because it is election, governors are wearing ashwabi to go and see the president. If it is not election, they will tell us, governors have told people they saw on the street, say go and die. They will tell Nigerians to go and die. But it is election. This is where I keep saying that voters card we have is what gives us the power to hire and fire. Like that is the thing that gives you the power to be Oga or Madam. You see, in Edo State, I grew up in Edo State. The politicians have this slogan. They say, Umana lawyer, lawyer. Interpreting that means if you are not loyal, you will suffer. This is the time for Nigerians to tell politicians, if you are not loyal to us Nigerians, you will suffer, you will not get it.
That's fair enough. So again, I put the question to you too. Do you think it will count for something, the hardship that Nigerians are going through now? You know, because the reason I ask this question is because even though the polls we are seeing tend to go to a particular candidate, some persons say it's because it's online and thereabouts, but you know, on the ground, the APC, the ruling party, is still a favorite to win. And people say in other climates, in other societies, they wouldn't even be in the running anymore. But somehow they still are. So the question is, these issues, would they have an effect? Would Nigerians think about it when they are voting? Or would they remember other things like, you know, loyalty or love for kind of politicians and so on and so forth?
You see, the truth is this. If it doesn't matter, if it doesn't really matter, politicians will not be running up and down like headless chicken.
That's right.
They are running up and down because they know that it does matter. Okay, so that is why they are running up and down. Because, you see, take it or leave it. Nigerians, it was Otive Ibuzo who once said that Nigerians will decide to change Nigeria when they have suffered enough. Okay, and I think Nigerians have really, really suffered enough. And if we are to look at it, you know, critically, the fact that a man from your place is the president of Nigeria doesn't really favor you, except for maybe some personal, you have a personal something to gain, which in a larger picture does not really favor the country. All right, so the best thing to do is to give the job to the best man. So the way Nigeria is now, is enough for Nigerians to go to the polling units and vent their angers. Okay, the way it is.
Just to cut in, what about when the government says things are hard everywhere? Take for instance, the minister of works and housing, when he was asked about, you know, inflation and all that, and he asked, where is inflation, where is it good in anywhere in the country? And they keep saying that they've met a very difficult situation, and so, you know, they've done the best they can. So when they make that argument, you know, what do you say to that? That they've actually tried with what they have.
You see, you are not a failure until you start blaming others. Leaders bring solutions, not excuses. And leaders take responsibility. You see, you are not a leader until you have been able to go above your people and provide leadership. If things are bad everywhere, how bad is it for the minister and his household? How bad is it? They always throw it at Nigerians. Has it been so bad for him and his household? Is he going to tell us that he has not moved? He has had upward mobility, both in his finances and social relationships. He has moved on, and Nigerians have moved downward. So you see, as politicians, one thing they know how to do is how to answer questions. Okay? But as far as Nigeria is concerned, every average Nigerian knows where it is paining him or her. And one thing I want to charge Nigerians is this. Let us remember that, take it or leave it, the person you are going to vote for, that person will be in control of your life, of everything about you, for at least 4 years, except something happens along the line. But as long as the person remains alive and everything is working well, the person will be in control for 4 years and may even get another 4 years, because it's more difficult to defeat an incumbent. All right. So what Nigerians need to do is to come out, keep aside sentiments, and hire the best person for this job. Hire the best person for this job. If you look at the campaign going on, at least we can all see that there have been 1 or 2 persons that have made it a point of duty to visit places and have serious interaction with people, instead of just throwing jamboree, doing party and giving people money at campaign grounds. Okay? Can we, if in all honesty, we want to exercise our rights to hire and fire, should we hire the wrong person for the job just because he's our own person? We must get it right.
All right, I think we'll end on that. I'd just like to get final words from you on that issue. Speaking to Nigerians now, what would you tell them as regards what they should look out for? I say this because as bad as things are, what it means is that whoever takes over the reins of government is not going to have it easy, you know. So it has to be, you know, well, I'll let you answer that. But anyway, the issue is that there is a big job to do. So what would you advise Nigerians, because you guys are versed and in the sector, and therefore I'd like to get your thoughts. What would you tell Nigerians now to look out for amongst the candidates that that would be the best choice as regards what we are facing and what we could be facing by May 2023? I'll start with you, ma'am.
Very quickly, I'll just say look out for that candidate that will bring Nigeria back to its rightful position. We have always been described as the big brother of Africa and of course the globe. Nigeria is a market. This is where it happens. Everybody wants to have one thing or the other here. For development to come, to develop the economy, we need somebody who needs to bring us back right on track. Nigerians did it in 2015. There was a reason why they voted like that. It is time again to bring up that reason. If we had never done it in the past, we say it is impossible. But we had done it in the past. Let us do something again this year. This March 25th, I mean February 25th and March 11th, and then set Nigeria on the right track to recovery and the right track for us to get the right thing to be done. Put Nigeria back to where we belong, the big brother of Africa. That person who has that program, look at all the agenda that they have, their manifestos, implementable manifesto, not manifesto that just like the peace accord that they sign and they cannot keep to it. We had once, finally please, we had once in this country, somebody came up with an agreement and said 100 things in 100 days. And by the time it was 100 days, we were asking what has happened. He said, no, it is not like that. We didn't meet it like that. Anybody that wants to take up power must ensure that they are ready for it from day one. Stop passing the buck, do the right thing, because right now the buck stops on your table. Take the decision and put us on the right path. That person we feel that can do that for us is the person that Nigerians should look up to and then vote for such a person.
All right, fair enough. Let's hear from you, Mr.
Yeah, I want to call on Nigerians to look at other African countries. Look at Rwanda. Look at Botswana. Look at Kenya. Look at Gambia. Look at Ghana here. Africans are moving forward. And Nigeria, as the big brother, must be ahead. We have everything that any nation can ever dream of. Yet, we are the laughingstock of all nations. So this time around, we must do the needful. If you have a company and you are to hire a CEO, look at these candidates. Who among them is best qualified to be hired by you to run your company? Let us use the same mentality. And let us remember that whether we like it or not, we have no other country but Nigeria. Even if you run away from this country, that place you are going to, you will be seen as a Nigerian American, as a Nigerian Britain, whatever it is. This is the only place we have as our own, and we must make it work. Let us not allow politicians to use us. Let's not allow them to use us. Because when the chips are down, we are always at the receiving end.
That's right.
It doesn't concern them.
Right. Thank you very much for that. But I'd just like to slip in one last question. Something that I always like to make a point to our viewers out there. How important are the other elections? You know, there's a lot of focus on the presidency, and people feel once you have the right president, everything is fixed. So the House of Reps, the Senate, the House of Assembly, the governorship, how important are these elections also in the grand scheme of things?
If you ask me, the most important election is actually the National Assembly election, because they're the direct representatives of the people. They're the ones who we elect to speak on our behalf and get the president and the governors to do the right thing. But unfortunately, what happens is, because we don't understand the role that the legislator plays, we assign the same roles of the executive on the legislator. So you vote somebody as a member of House of Assembly or a member of the National Assembly, and you're expecting the person to bring you keke na pep, or bring the electricity, or build a road in your community, when that person had not sat down at the House of Assembly or National Assembly to ensure that it's a policy or a budget that brings that road to you. So that election is a very, 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 very important one, because at the end of the day, you have more people that you are selecting from among yourself that are supposed to speak for you. You are selecting one person as president, one person as governor. And remember that the person as president is different. You have 36 states. The policies within your states will be implemented by the governor. But the member of that National Assembly is the one that will ensure that the money that will bring growth to your community is on the budget, and it is rightfully put there. And somebody is oversighting that to do that. So the National Assembly and House of Assembly elections are very, very, very important, because these people are closer to us and we can hold them accountable to hold the governor or the president accountable. Every other election is important. The reason why people are looking at the presidency is because every month, commissioners of finance and state governments look up to the federal government to go and bring money from the federal government. So people are lazy back home, and people don't even think that members of the National Assembly and House of Assemblies are playing a role, because really we have not started holding them accountable. So it is very important that you select the person who represents you at the State House of Assembly and at the National Assembly, so that you can hold that person accountable when your governor or the president is not working. A situation whereby you have a weak House of Assembly or a weak National Assembly, if there's a law that concerns you and you're saying this thing must happen, because your member of House of Assembly or a member of the National Assembly has been compromised, the person will always be a rubber stamp to the governor and to the president.
All right, thank you. Your final word.
Anyway, she's very, very right. Okay, the assembly members are the voice of the people. All right. However, because of the way we have structured our federalism in Nigeria here, the president or the governor has so much power that once the president is elected, you see people begin to jump from one party to the party of the president, and then you even hear members of the assembly to say, we are not here to create problems for the executive, we are going to work together with the president or with the governor. So they end up becoming rubber stamp. All right, so that is the problem, and that is why Nigerians are often looking at the presidency and possibly the state governors. Okay. But every election, including that of the local government chairman, matters, because they are even the closest to the people. All right, but it's just because of the way the country is. So the president has so much powers. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has so much powers that we just need to demystify it by removing a lot of things from the exclusive list and dropping it on the, concurrently, so that Nigeria can actually move forward. And that is why everybody is so interested who become the president. Yeah. Because if we are running a true federalism, people will be more interested in who is representing them, even at council level,
yes,
than who becomes the president. But because of the way it is, so the presidential election becomes the sunum bonum, the ultimate. The of them all according to the comedian. So and that's why every Nigerian is interested in who becomes the president. Hopefully someday we may have a better, federal, arrangement that will change the storyline.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Okeke. Thank you very much, Mrs.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great one having you guys and sharing your thoughts. I hope to have you back sometime soon, maybe before or after the elections, to get your thoughts once again. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
All right. Yeah. We'll take a report now from on election observers and their recommendations for the government. And after that, the program continues. Stay with us. We'll be right back.